Hello, a warm welcome to WION, broadcasting live from London. This hour, you're with me, Katie Pilbeam. Let's get to the headlines. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says the drone attack on the Kremlin couldn't have been possible without the Pentagon's knowledge. This is according to Russia, will respond to the attack with concrete measures. US denies Moscow's claims it masterminded an alleged drone attack on the Kremlin aimed at assassinating President Vladimir Putin. Security beefed up across London as tourists arrived to witness King Charles's coronation on Saturday. Met Office predicts a rainy day. Stocks of US regional lenders Western Alliance Bancorp, PacWest Bancorp and First Horizon slump after the Fed's latest rate hike. Markets are certain other banks will fail. The question on the street now is which bank will collapse next and when? Defending champions Golden State Warriors bounced back to beat Los Angeles Lakers in a blowout victory. Steph Curry and company have now leveled the NBA Western Conference semi-final series 1-1. We are just a day away now from King Charles's coronation. Well, London is decked up to host its grandest event in 70 years. Well, representatives from around the world, as well as members of the royal family, are here. And the majority of Britons are too, in the festive spirit of it all. Well, Ukraine's First Lady, Olena Zelenska, was spotted near Downing Street on Thursday. She went with her British counterpart, Akshata Murty. The two also visited the British Library and recited books to children. Olena appears to be the only representative from Ukraine, as her husband, Volodymyr Zelensky, remains occupied with the conflict in the country. Also seen were the Prince and Princess of Wales, William and his wife, Kate. They visited a pub in the Soho area. The couple, they interacted with the locals in the pub and said that preparations are still being nailed down for the ceremony. Prince William also poured the first ever pint of a popular beer to celebrate his father's coronation. Well, rehearsals for the ceremony are also going on in full swing right now. Around 400 troops took part in a joint parade ahead of the ceremony. It comprised armed forces from 33 Commonwealth nations and 6 British overseas territories. Well, these troops will be part of the ceremonial procession on Saturday. Well, apart from the rehearsals, flowers from across the country were being prepared. The flowers, they are sustainable, and this is in line with King Charles's interest, of course. He has spent much of his life campaigning for sustainability and against a throwaway economy. A variety of flowers like primroses as well as wild grasses are already on display in Chapter House at Westminster Abbey, the venue where the ceremony itself will take place.
There are branches of beech which were cut from 2 trees planted by the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh at RHS Wisley. And I found that very touching that the King's parents planted those trees, and now they have cut a few branches of them for us to have in the Abbey for his coronation.
Well, much of London has been decorated for the ceremony. The same is visible at Marble Arch as well in Westminster, where a giant replica of the St Edward's crown has been installed. The 16-feet installation weighs 300 kilos. It features 36 different coloured glass stones. Elated locals and tourists were seen taking pictures and selfies with the crown. I don't blame them. Well, the chief executive of the Arch, he elaborated upon the joy that came after installing the replica.
From the minute the construction started yesterday, people were gathering, taking photographs. It was already on social media. There's a real delight about it. The fact that you can go up close to it, have your photograph taken with it, or do a selfie with it, it really created a joy and an excitement about the coronation.
Royal fans were also seen camping out near Buckingham Palace. They took photos of the palace, witnessed preparations and paid homage to the royal family and indulged in many activities. It looks great fun. Well, the fans, they described how much importance the event holds in their lives. Well, WION's Molly Gambier, who is currently in the capital for us, got to witness these preparations firsthand. She sent us this report detailing on how jubilant the city is ahead of the coronation and what more is to come. Take a look.
As London is all set to host the coronation ceremony of King Charles III on the 6th of May, which will be attended by over 2,000 guests from around the world. We are telling you how the ceremony is also going to be seeing a lot of firsts this time around, as members of the public will be invited to swear allegiance to the King. For the first time, they will be playing an active role in the ceremony in what's being called a chorus of millions. Not just that, we'll also see many other firsts as far as the ceremony is concerned. A female clergy playing an important role this time around, the King praying out aloud, and we'll also be seeing religious leaders from different faiths play an active role in that ceremony. Molly Gambier reporting in London for WION World is One.
Well, we're going to stay with the coronation just now. Delighted to be joined by Richard Fitzwilliam, a royal commentator here in London for us. A very good day to you. So is all of this, is it a ridiculous waste of taxpayers' money or a wonderful way to mark this piece of history? What do you think?
Well, I think there's absolutely no doubt. It is a way that spends a lot of money. We don't know the exact amount yet. There have been estimates of something like £100 million, say, but for a purpose. Firstly, this is a truly remarkable occasion. The coronation used to legitimize a monarch, now succession does that, but this ceremony places King Charles in the situation of being not only legitimized, but also in the eyes of the church. There's been a church service, a holy rite performed, but also it's a wonderful piece of theatre, and it's irresistible to watch. Parts or a whole of billions of people around the world will be tuning in. They'll see parts of it or they'll see the whole service, and there are some 200 countries represented. So every country that Britain has diplomatic relations with, bar a few such as Russia, Belarus, Venezuela and others, have been invited. So this is also an expression of soft power, and also again it shows the brilliance that the British have of putting on pomp and pageantry, but this also is very meaningful. It goes back over 1,000 years to 973 AD when King Edgar was crowned in Bath.
Oh, it's incredible, the history, isn't it? And I appreciate what you're saying there about it being irresistible to watch, because I think even if you're the staunchest Republican, you might not be able to resist having a peek at it all, because it really will be such an extravaganza. What are you most looking forward to, Richard?
Well, my feeling is that I think it has been well handled. I think that it also has been very drastically changed from the 1953 coronation, when, of course, the Queen at the age of 27 was crowned. Britain still suffered then from rationing post-war, but what was very significant about it was that it was thought that, with Winston Churchill, the wartime leader as Prime Minister, that Britain was entering a new Elizabethan age. A portrait subsequently by Antigone of the Queen in garter robes was symbolic of this. This is very different and a different era, and it has been made more diverse. The congregation is mainly composed of both those who are diplomats and also those who have done a lot of community work. Aristocrats were central to the 1953 coronation. They are marginal to this one, and also King Charles said when Prince of Wales in 1994 he would prefer to be defender of faith, not the faith. Now he is the Supreme Governor of the Church of England, that's made clear from the service, but equally members of other faiths and also faith leaders, though they won't be actually participating in the service, and they will be part of it, and they will give him a greeting at the end. So this is symbolic of a much more contemporary Britain, as it should be.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely touch, isn't it, to include sort of Muslims, Hindus, Jews, Sikhs. It's a nice touch there. And it will be a feast for the eyes, that is true to say. Richard, enjoy it all, and thank you very much indeed for sharing your views with us. That's Richard Fitzwilliams, a royal commentator from London. We move on to politics now here, because the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservative Party has suffered significant losses in local elections in England. The main opposition, the Labour Party, is declaring wins on some early seats now. Well, early results from the local elections indicate a net loss of 144 seats for the Conservative Party, while the Labour Party is hoping to gain hundreds of seats in the midterm vote, having already added around 96 seats according to the early results. Now, the local elections in England were conducted on 8,000 local seats across 230 local government authorities, which are responsible for providing public services on a day-to-day basis. Sunak's party has lost control of 5 key councils, including Brentwood, North West Leicestershire and Hartsmere. In contrast, Starmer's Labour Party has won control of Plymouth and Stoke-on-Trent councils, which are regarded as crucial for the party to win in the next general election. Experts predict that the Conservative Party suffered losses in the local elections owing to political scandals, slow economic growth and record high inflation. Well, Rishi Sunak has been trying to rebuild the credibility of the Conservative Party since he took office. The country has experienced months of economic chaos, widespread strikes and political turmoil. Well, over the last 3 years, the Conservative Party has had 3 prime ministers, while the opposition Labour Party is making swift gains in the British political sphere and is already leading in various polls. Well, senior Conservative members predict that the party will lose about 1,000 seats, making the local elections a test of voter sentiment before the next general election. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak is facing a backlash from supporters of Boris Johnson and Tory hardliners. Johnson supporters founded a Conservative Democratic organisation after he was forced to step down. Now, the event will be attended by leading supporters of Johnson. This includes Priti Patel, the former Home Secretary, and Jacob Rees-Mogg. He's the former Business Secretary, and Nadine Dorries. However, Johnson is not actually expected to attend. Now, the last time most of these local election seats were contested was in 2019, when the Conservatives lost more than 1,300 seats, and then Prime Minister Theresa May was forced to resign as an attempt to limit the losses in local elections. Well, our correspondent has been following this throughout, Alex Isaac here in London for us. So, as I was saying, these local election results in England, they've really been showing us how unpopular the Conservatives have become. Is that too harsh a thing to say?
I think so, Katie. I think you're quite right there. It does show that the Conservatives have lost a lot of faith. Of course, Rishi Sunak may take it personally. He has only been Prime Minister for a number of months, but having to suffer through these losses, although he's taken it on the chin a little bit this morning, we'll see how he counteracts that throughout the rest of the day. At the moment, there are just a few hundred seats that they've lost. We are hearing that even 700 seats to lose would be devastating for the Conservative Party. And if they're going to try and fix things ahead of the general election, which is just but a year away from now, obviously anything can change in a year, but the Conservatives and Rishi Sunak really need to push through and show the country that they're making some of those promises and priorities that he said that he would. Of course, right now all we're seeing is more striking, the NHS collapsing, cost of living still not really going down, and a lot of problems. Whether or not having a new party in control would fix any of those, well, that's something that obviously the public will have to wait to see. But one thing that is quite interesting in these local elections is how well the Liberal Democrats have actually done. Although they're not gaining the hundreds and hundreds of seats that potentially Labour might, they are showing that they are creeping up, and it looks like people do want just more than that two-horse race that we've been seeing for the past 12 years at least. And Liberal Democrats may not end up taking control, but there's already rumours that they may have a Lib Dem Labour conglomerate when we go towards the next general elections, and that we may be seeing them in charge in the future. Of course, we've still got a lot to play for. There's still 8,000 seats over in total, and we only have about 15% of the results at the moment. And of course, we will get those in throughout the day up until 8 p.m. local time. But at the moment, the Conservative Party and Rishi Sunak will surely be a bit concerned about how they're going to move forward after this.
Yeah, a bit of regrouping, I think, is necessary. Thank you so much. And also pointing out the Liberal Democrats as well, because the leader seemed utterly thrilled with their performance too. Alex Isaac, thank you so much, reporting in London for us about those local elections here in England. Well, in the UK, slow economic growth and a labour shortage have led to an increase in the number of one-day released prisoners. The UK ministers want to push the efforts to get prisoners into work. The plan is to encourage people to take vocational training and allow more inmates out on licence to take up apprenticeships in areas such as construction, hospitality. Now, only 1/4 of prisoners leaving prison have jobs within 6 months. Officials have been long trying to increase this number. However, government efforts have been ramped up after the latest budget warns of labour shortages that can affect the already sluggish UK economy. Well, UK Prisons Minister supports the report, urging at least 50,000 people leaving prison every year earlier. Well, Justice Secretary Dominic Raab urged companies to hire prisoners. A law has also changed last year to allow inmates in open jails to work as apprentices. The report also calls for better education and digital technology in prisons. Last year, on temporary licence, around 7,100 inmates out of a prison population of 85,000 were released. This is according to a survey by the Justice Ministry. 9 in 10 managers who employed ex-offenders said they were motivated, reliable and trustworthy. Well, an opinion poll shows that 85% of respondents agree that prisoners should be given job opportunities once again, while 76% were comfortable with working alongside an ex-offender who passed all safety measures. Enough is enough. That's what the Australian Prime Minister has said while expressing frustration on the continued imprisonment of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Well, Assange is an Australian citizen who has spent 4 years in a British prison while fighting extradition to the United States.
Enough is enough. This needs to be brought to a conclusion. It needs to be worked through, including we're working through diplomatic channels, but we're making very clear what our position is on Mr Assange's case.
Well, Anthony Albanese has said he is frustrated for not yet finding a diplomatic fix to the situation. He's also said that nothing will be served by the US still pursuing Assange. Remember, Assange is wanted in the US on criminal charges over the release of confidential US military records and diplomatic cables in 2010. He faces a sentence of up to 175 years in a maximum security prison if extradited to the US. But the statement by the Australian Prime Minister now appears to put diplomatic pressure on the US to drop the charges against the WikiLeaks founder.
I'll engage diplomatically in order to achieve an outcome. And I know it's frustrating. I share the frustration. I can't do more than make very clear what my position is, and the US administration is certainly very aware of what the Australian government's position is.
Well, the Australian Prime Minister claimed that there was a disconnect between the US treatment of Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning, who a former US soldier and the source of WikiLeaks. Well, Albanese questioned the logic behind releasing the source of the leaked documents while still holding Assange in prison. Barack Obama, when he was US president, commuted Manning's 35-year sentence to 7 years, which allowed her release in 2017. Julian Assange is currently being held in Belmarsh, a Category A prison in London, since April 2019. Well, this comes after he previously spent 7 years holed up in Ecuador's embassy in London after being offered refuge, but was dragged out by British police, and that was in 2019. Well, Albanese, he declined to say whether he would raise the issue of Julian Assange with Biden when he hosts the US president, along with other leaders, on the 24th of this month.